The family sent the ugly daughter as a joke, but she was everything the mountain man ever desired. The people of Blackridge Valley were known for their sharp tongues and cruel humor, but the Colton family's joke this time went further than most. When news spread that the reclusive mountain man, Elias Thorne, was finally considering marriage, the eligible families pretended to act modest, while secretly scrambling to catch his eye. A man like Elias didn't come by often. Strong, wealthy from furs and timber, owner of half the northern ridge, and uninterested in town gossip. Every family prepared their prettiest daughters, except the Coltons. They prepared Iris. Quiet, awkward, often hiding behind her hair, Iris was the one the town labeled the plain one. Not because she was actually ugly, but because cruelty was a sport in Blackridge. Her older sisters, all smiles and ribbons, made sure she never forgot it. Send Iris. Her mother had laughed. If the mountain man doesn't run away, maybe he'll pay us to take her back. So they dressed her in a faded brown dress, handed her a small bundle, and pushed her onto the wagon heading north. Try not to embarrass us, her mother said with a smirk. Iris kept her eyes down, clutching the thin shawl around her shoulders, trying not to cry. She wasn't excited for marriage. She wasn't excited for anything. She just wanted a chance, a place where someone saw her as more than the butt of a cruel joke. But she expected nothing. She didn't expect the man waiting at the cabin door. Elias Thorne stood tall, his shoulders broad under his fur-lined coat, with a beard that looked carved from winter. His eyes were sharp and steady, eyes that belonged to a man who spent more time with storms than with people. When Iris stepped down from the wagon, Elias paused mid-step, not at her dress, not at her lowered gaze, but at the tremble in her hands. He recognized fear and pain and loneliness. The wilderness carved those into people with an unmistakable signature. "You must be Iris," he said, voice deep and gentle. She nodded without looking up. "You cold?" he asked. "A little," she whispered. He removed his heavy coat and draped it around her shoulders. It swallowed her whole, warm and surprisingly soft, a kindness she wasn't used to. Her breath caught. No one had ever offered her warmth so quickly. The cabin wasn't a shack. It was a sturdy, beautiful log home nestled between pines and cliffs, with smoke curling from the chimney. Inside smelled of cedar and bread. Iris stepped inside hesitantly, unsure how to behave. "You hungry?" Elias asked. She nodded again. He served her stew, warm and hearty. She ate quietly, conscious of how small she must look at his large table. Elias watched her, not with judgment, but curiosity. "Your family didn't come to meet me," he said after a moment. "They didn't think it mattered," she said, voice barely audible. His brow tightened. "Did they send you willingly?" "I don't think they cared one way or another." She didn't add the obvious. They sent her as a joke. They thought Elias would reject her. They thought she'd come crawling back in humiliation. But Elias wasn't laughing. He studied her, noticing things others ignored. How gently she held the spoon, as if afraid to break it. How quietly she moved, as if apologizing for taking up space. How she flinched at sudden noises, a sign of long years of being ridiculed. He set down his cup. "Iris, I don't want a bride chosen by others. I want someone who wants to be here. Do you?" She froze. No one had ever asked her what she wanted. I don't know," she admitted, "but I don't want to go back." "Good," he said softly. "No one here will force you into anything. Stay as long as you want. Learn the land. See if it feels like home." Home! The word nearly made her cry. Days passed, and Iris learned the rhythms of mountain life. Elias taught her how to chop wood safely, how to set a snare, how to read the sky before a storm. She listened, learned quickly, never complained, and worked harder than anyone he'd known. And, slowly, she began to smile. It wasn't loud or bright. It was soft, almost shy, but it warmed the cabin more than the fire ever could. Elias found himself watching her hands as she braided herbs, listening for her hum as she cooked, noticing how her face softened when she fed the little fox that visited the porch. She wasn't plain. She was light, quiet, steady light. Something rare in a world full of noise. One evening, as snow drifted outside, Elias set a small carved wooden box in front of her. "I made this for you," he said. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a wooden hairpin carved into the shape of a mountain flower. "For me," she whispered. "For the woman who makes my home warmer," he replied gently. Her eyes filled with tears. "No one has ever made something for me." Elias touched her cheek, his hand warm and careful. "Iris, the world may have misjudged you, but I haven't." She met his gaze fully for the first time, and he saw it. The depth, the softness, the quiet strength hidden beneath years of cruelty. A beauty deeper than any he'd ever known. "I want you here," he said. "Not because your family sent you. Because you're everything I ever hoped to find." Her breath shook. Then, "I want to stay." He pulled her into his arms, holding her gently but surely, as if anchoring her to a place she never had before. When word eventually reached the Colton family that Elias had not only kept Iris, but chosen her, the town buzzed with disbelief. But up in the mountains, far from their laughter, Iris had found something she never expected. A home, a partner, a life built from kindness instead of cruelty. And Elias? He found a one thing he never thought existed. The ugly daughter, who turned out to be everything he ever wanted.